Hey, this is Darren McCarty, 4-time Stanley Cup champion with the Detroit Red Wings. You're listening to Out of Bounds, Detroit Sports on sportsradiodetroit.com.
sportsradiodetroit.com.
We don't need TV to entertain us. He said anus.
I like
Very
it.
well said.
I like
Your
it a
beard
lot.
is still incredible.
It is. It's getting to that level of like.
Majestic, almost.
I'm excited about it now. I've finally reached that level that I'm proud of it.
My beard is so gross right now. Like I have pubes just glued to my face.
When the fuck did you have long leg hair?
Basically, almost all the spectrum on that.
You did not. You did have long leg. You look like Ringo Starr.
I look so stupid. Smells like Cypress Hill concert in here.
I think Shakira is incredibly attractive. I think her music's terrible.
It's like it's just yodeling. It's yodeling.
Le, 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 le.
Yeah! Welcome! Out of Bounds Detroit Sports. David Faze, Geoff Mell is back, and I, of course, am Dan Griffin, invading your ear hole, as always, on sportsradiodetroit.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever the hell you listen to podcasts, and go to sportsradiodetroit.com because we are in the very heat of the Detroit's Top Female Personality Tournament. As the elite, is it the Elite Eight now coming to an end?
Yeah.
We are about to have our Final Four very, very shortly, and I believe it's safe to. Some of the races are close, but I think Trudy Daniels has made her first Final Four.
Trudy's in the Final Four. Yeah, you won't be able to vote on the Elite Eight. It'll be over by the time.
You hear this, but I'm just saying we're gonna have the Final Four posted. So go to sportsradiodetroit.com, vote for Trudy, and. All of your other favorite ladies. Well, I guess you'd only be able to vote for one other one at that point, wouldn't you? Whoever you want to see face Trudy.
Two ladies left to vote on, and then a solid one. We'll see how it goes.
Trudy is rolling.
Trudy's winning this thing. No one stood a chance once this went on the Drew and Mike podcast.
Once she became aware.
Yeah. Once Drew became aware, he wasn't going to let her lose.
Drew's fascinated.
Yeah,
constant emails.
Just giving her shit.
He loves it
if she doesn't prop it up.
That's what I said. That's what you on the interview that I did with Drew and Mike or Drew and Mark. I'm like, if she loses this thing, it's your guys' fault. Because you guys are the only ones that's like actually bothered to have me on or have anybody from SRD on to talk about the contest.
Their listeners aren't going to let that happen either. So.
That's true.
Clearly.
It's all over the Drew and Mike podcast fan page. So if you want to see Trudy lose, I suggest you gather some friends because you're going to need an army.
Why would
to beat Trudy
anybody
Daniels.
specifically want a certain person not to win? Like, it's fine to have like a favorite that's not Trudy, but why would you care that why would you be like, I really want her not to win?
Well, I don't know. Somebody took the time out to put a bot on the fucking contest last year. So obviously there are people that care enough.
There were some,
but they put a bot because they specifically wanted one person to win, not necessarily because they wanted a different person to lose. You know?
What the fuck is going on? I told Roger this, and I mean this in the nicest way possible for Roger and for the contest. But I feel kind of like a dick for being a part of this. And
why?
And this is why. Because we have unleashed the creeps on some of these women. Like my women consensual. We've released the creeps on them. I've seen it through
but those
and retweets.
You gotta understand, Geoff.
These guys are weird.
Those creeps.
Now, I mean,
they would have another avenue.
I'm sure if you're listening to us, you're not a creep. I hope not. And I'm sure you're just creeps. I'm sure you're just a normal guy, just like us, or gal. But some of these guys, they're a little off, and they're out here just like yucking it up for some of these chicks. But it's almost in like they're trying to get laid by votes kind of way.
Well, that's never going to happen.
No, but that's what makes them crazy, right? Is that they believe that there might be an aspect of that.
If you think you're going to hook up with a Detroit female personality on Twitter.
Yeah, because you voted for it in a contest.
There can't really be people that think that, right?
I voted for you. Can I get your digits?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think so either.
I wonder if I can.
If it does, that particular
Do you have
female,
any creepy tweets?
Whoever
I'm trying to find them.
dig up some creepy tweets.
They were SRD tweets.
Whoever the female is that would
Settle down.
would be nice enough to at least if for a second entertain that concept is just a sweetheart, because that is not usually the way you get it.
We've seen some answers, right? We've seen a few of those creeps tweet at these ladies, and these ladies occasionally they're nice enough to respond, but you always get that feeling of she just did that because she's a really nice person. That's the only reason she did that. There's no other reason she would ever do that. She's not interested in that guy. He doesn't even have a real picture on his Twitter his Twitter profile. It's like I don't know, a picture of Willem Dafoe or something. Did you find any creepy tweets? I know there's a few out there.
I'm going back so I can just find the user that gave all the weird creepy tweets.
Well, the guy that put the bots on actually admitted to doing it on Twitter by stating, the time it takes to make a champion, and then he hearted Carolyn Clifford and Jackie Page, who was coincidentally the winner last year. It's just like,
I'm close.
What the? And Jackie was so sweet, she answered him.
Yeah, this guy was in love with Jackie Page. I'm not going to say the guy's Twitter name.
Why not?
I go, he seems to be, this is what I said to Roger, he seems to be in love with Jackie Page. He goes, yeah, it's ridiculously bad. Dude is creepy. I go, definitely. He tweeted that he sent her a DM and keeps tagging her and sent her the results of the first round. I'd love to see her against Trudy and watch him bitch about bots. That's what I said. And he goes, that's so weird. And then I have screenshots. Let's see if they load. What the fuck? Load.
You have screenshots that you...
I was sending screenshots of this guy's tweets to Roger.
All he left was a batch of hepatitis on the toilet seat.
Actually, I wonder if Roger said his name.
Probably. Roger's not too shy about stuff like that.
I have to apologize.
No, you don't.
Why? Why wouldn't you load?
The screenshots?
Yes.
You don't have the tweets? You got them on your phone?
He doesn't say his name. He sends me a screenshot. So I know the name because of the screenshot, and I go on and I search for myself.
I think he's one of those guys that closes all the blinds and just walks around his house nude.
Which guy is this?
The guy that really loves Jackie Page.
Maybe.
Because I've often thought
I don't
about
think
it.
he walks around nude. I think he walks around in nothing but women's underwear.
Well, that's probably more accurate because I've done that. I've walked around nude in my house before.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Sometimes
weird.
minutes before you guys get here.
There's nothing weird about that.
I found it. He says, these are his tweets. This is without giving his name. I won't give his name. But he says, this is too funny. Allie Martinick blocked me here on Twitter during the last contest as a no vote is in order. Got all upset because I called her bots out, and they're back this year. Just compare the numbers so far. Show your support for voting for Jackie Page. And then
I'm glad people are this into it.
And then at Jackie Page sent you a DM. Send that to her.
Who the fuck tweets that at
And then
somebody?
he says, be sure to vote at Jackie Page at Sports Radio Detroit, and he retweets it.
Yeah.
He goes, love me or hate me, Jackie Page, you're up, and I'm probably plus 50 in your corner since last night.
Wow.
And he says, hashtag 2-time bound.
Get the fuck out of here. This is actually happening?
And then he said, round 2, hashtag vote Jackie Page. This is all the same guy within hours of each other. And I go, this is what I said to Roger.
Please tell me he doesn't know where she lives. That we don't know. There's
kind
no way to verify that
kind
either
of
way.
Makes me feel guilty for unleashing these creeps. He goes, well, he can't cheat, so that's all that matters. I go, true, but these ladies get the weirdos crawling out from the sewers in this contest.
I'm pretty sure they're used to it. Right.
On a normal...
They've all got stalkers, right?
I feel like they might, right? But I don't feel... I feel like unleashing these guys on them is kind of unfair. I'm not talking about 99% of the voters in this contest.
Talking about like 3 dudes.
Yeah, this contest is great, but it just ramps up the creepers. It pulls them out of the weeds like bait.
Yeah, but it's kind of entertaining
It's
for
like
us.
they have a guides to be creepy. You know what I mean? But whatever.
We're feeding them.
Internet. It's driving me crazy.
What is with the internet tonight?
I don't know. It's not like it's going in and out of my computer. So
I know I paid the damn bill.
I don't care.
I don't know what the hell the
I'll
problem
take it
is.
away. I don't even need my computer.
Well, we already... So the show's basically over because Jeff just closed his computer. That's always a sign that the show
Jeff's
is coming to a close.
Jeff's got an NBA Finals game to go watch or something.
Exactly.
So you got to go watch Michigan lose by 20?
Yeah.
The Frozen Four, bro.
That happened.
Frozen Four.
Oh, Jesus fuck. I really think that's what people expected to hear as soon as we open the show, but we've gone, I don't know, 11. It's only been 11 minutes? How high am I?
Pretty high.
I mean... Jeff's so high, I can't even open a package.
I'm pretty sure
struggling.
People expected us to open with
The
Michigan.
candy inside is so delicious.
you really can't do it.
There we are. Broke the seal.
Jeff's stalking the candy.
Yes, I am.
Like that dude on... He's all over that candy like that dude on
I
Jackie Page.
I don't eat any candy during this is the only time I eat candy. Like now, basically, is when I come here. Because this stupid diet
Good for you.
forbids candy, and
Good
I can't
for
eat
you.
it. And it's working.
I'm very, very happy for you.
Thank you. I worked hard. Now I'm going to eat your candy on the microphone.
It's because he's a little stoned.
Yeah. Well, I'm always stoned.
Dude, I was telling Jeff this before we started the show, Dave, before you got here. So, Jeff, you've already heard this, but I think the people need to know this because they appreciate the fact that we are very personable and we give details about ourselves. That's how you do good radio.
Yeah.
So, the semifinal game against Loyola Chicago, right? It's a Saturday night, right? So I'm over at Rose's house.
Yeah.
You're getting him ready for bed, right? I usually show up about 8, and we hang out, and then I just put him to bed and turn him and shit at night. So Roe got his medical marijuana card, and he decides, finally, after all this time, he decides to go to the dispensary, and he gets these little THC concentrate
Why does he need
deals.
the card? Explain to the people who may not know who Roe is.
Oh, he's got muscular dystrophy. He's in a wheelchair.
All right.
So he qualifies pretty easily for medical marijuana. But he goes and he's like, I'm going to get you one of these little concentrate cartridges. So he goes and he picks me one up. And I'm like, oh, sweet. I asked him to do that. Next time you go back, can you grab me one? So he grabs me one. He's like, I got you one. So I grabbed it. I put it on my little battery that I already had. And I take it into the bathroom because he's got family from all over the damn planet at the house this weekend for some reason. I don't know why. But I take it into the bathroom and I'm like, it's not working. My battery's fucked up or something. Because the light was coming on, but it wasn't fucking working. So I'm like, I hit it one more time. I'm like, and I went, I have never been that high in my entire fucking life.
So what happened that it wasn't working initially?
I don't know, but it was not, the coil for whatever reason was not firing on this
Need a
thing.
little primer.
And I was legitimately at 29 years old was the highest I've ever been in my entire life, to the point where, you know how during the pregame, Dave, when they were doing the goofy lights on the floor and making the floor 3D and they had that weird music going on?
Yeah.
I was tripping balls watching that on the big screen projector
That's not
TV.
a surprise.
Absolutely, I was
Went to the moon, man.
I don't think you'd have to be even that high for that to
oh my
fuck you
god,
up.
I was freaking out. My heart was pounding like 1,000 miles a minute.
Yep.
I don't remember the last time I was that stoned, to where I was like, I'm gonna have a heart attack.
Yeah. I just need to sit here and not talk to anyone for the next half hour.
And that's exactly what I did.
Yep.
Rose's like, man, I could tell because you were really quiet. Because I'm always talking during the game. You know me.
Yep.
I don't laugh and yell bang every time Michigan hits a three like Jeff does.
Not a lot of time. Not all the time for that this week on Monday. Tell you that much.
Oh man! But after a while, I took a nap.
That's good.
And got some grub, and I was okay. Isn't that the one thing you always have to remember when you get too stoned? You have to force yourself to remember you're not gonna die.
Yeah. Oh no, never. You'll fall asleep.
You're never gonna die.
Even if you puke.
But
you gotta be really high to puke.
But your anxiety doesn't believe you. Your anxiety thinks you're gonna die.
We're gonna be really high to puke. We're still gonna be fine.
Yeah, I didn't throw up.
That's good.
I didn't.
You get the spins too if you get too high,
especially if you're drinking.
So this was Saturday night.
Yeah, this was Saturday night for the Loyola Chicago game, and for some reason, I do remember most of the game.
Yeah,
like I did watch it and fell asleep right afterwards.
It's not like they tell you in the liberal media.
We had a few people over at our house watching it, and then people were actually considering staying for the majority of the Nova Kansas game,
and that was 22-4.
And then that game was a fucking joke. So we're like, everybody's like, all right, we're gonna go home now. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
I think that's pretty much probably where people expected us to start the show. In fact, I had a camp friend of mine message me on Facebook and say, "Can you please touch on how important free throws are during the next show?" To which I responded with, "Yes, the free throws are awful. However, it was just one corn kernel in the turd that was this basketball game."
Yes,
because that's exactly what it was. And now that we've kind of had 3 days to
simmer,
to kind of simmer and really think about what happened during that basketball
totally different
game.
Halves, also. I mean, it was, and a big part of that was one player.
Well, I don't know that it was necessarily two different halves. I think really it was the first 10 minutes and then the rest of the basketball game.
Yeah, I got my reasons why I think that.
Jeff and I, as Michigan fans, I don't think we're going to come on this show 3 days after the game and really lose our shit.
No. You're not going to hear some kind of Mike Valenti type rant.
No, if you're expecting to hear that, you're listening to the wrong show. Because I will admit to you,
maybe on Monday night you would have got that after the game, but
here's the thing: there are some things about that game, specific things that really annoyed me.
Yeah, me too.
But the biggest thing was Nova's just really fucking good.
Well, yeah,
that was the biggest contributing factor to that loss on Monday night.
These are my two big factors. That one is looking at it from a Michigan fan and, Michigan perspective. The other is from looking at it as just an outsider watching that game. Nova is really good, and they had a player do a very special thing and go and drop almost 30 points or whatever in a national championship game.
Yeah, they had a fire crotch stab you in the nuts.
But also,
that's what they did.
I think when it came to Michigan, they didn't shoot the ball well again.
No, and that's one of those things.
If they shot the ball well, they went 2 for 14 in the first half, right? 2 for 14.
From three.
From three. And they were down by 9.5. If they make 2 of those, then if they go 2 for 12 the rest of the way in that half.
Yeah.
That game is 3 points at half. And you have a much different game.
Well, and that brings me to one of my first points about this game. So first of all, Michigan starts the game red hot, right? Michigan could not have asked for a better start to that basketball game.
Yeah.
Would we all agree? Would we all agree there?
Yes, I don't know that I would say they started red hot, but they were way more efficient, and Villanova was missing shots.
They were up, and Mo was tearing it up, which is exactly what you wanted to see. But then when you got to halftime, and Michigan's down 9 points, I'm looking at the TV screen and I'm going, they're playing, and I'm talking about Michigan.
Yeah,
they're playing way too well to be down 9 points.
Yeah, that's
a fucking problem.
Exactly.
It's not the way, because we were texting during the Loyola Chicago game. You were getting a little nervous, Jeff, and. I was, and they were down, and they were down by 10 points with what was it, 12 minutes to go against Loyola Chicago, and I never wavered. I never really felt like that game wasn't going to be a Michigan victory because Michigan was doing a lot of things really, really well. The only thing that wasn't happening was the shots weren't falling. Duncan Robinson comes in, knocks down a couple big triples. Michigan wins the game by 12 points. Yep. I didn't feel that way against Villanova at all.
Well, I think it really was one of those things where you weren't going to put away Nova, for one, and you would have to dogfight them the whole game. Now, in the first half, I texted you about this. A lot of the fouls are really frustrating me.
Yeah.
And on both ends, both from the refs and from the players. The players were taking some bad fouls that they shouldn't have been taking and played smarter. But then there were also some questionable calls from the ref that I'm like, are you really going to call that bump? I mean, it's like one of those moves where Brunson just puts a shoulder down, and he's either going to run through you or you're going to get a foul.
That's what I was saying. I don't know if you guys agree with this. He's probably I don't know where the hell he's going to go in the draft, but Jalen Brunson going to be a hell of an NBA player.
Yeah.
Do you know why that is? Because he already plays an NBA game.
Yep.
He is a push-off artist.
Yep.
And an incredible flopper.
Yep.
He's an amazing actor.
Yep. It's not.
I don't know how
away.
good. I don't know how good Nova's acting school is.
It's
but
not
wow.
taking away from that he is a good player.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the fact that he has that move that always drove me crazy about James Harden, where he's going to drive and he's going to put a shoulder into you, and there's only two outcomes to that. Either you're going to have to let him go by you, or you're going to foul him. There's no defensive play you can make for that unless it's a charge, but he doesn't put you in a position to let you get a charge because he's going to take you off the dribble.
And he swings his elbows around like boxing gloves.
You know his game in a certain way reminds me of, just because a lot of what he does, especially when he gets down low, like he gets a lot, is based off of a strength factor because he's a strong point guard. He's a shorter, stockier guy. His game reminds me. He doesn't have quite the outside shot as this guy, but reminds me a lot of vintage Chauncey.
Dude, I knew you were going to say
vintage
that.
That's how he plays.
Because he'll back somebody down.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of that from point guards.
He's an old school kind of point guard.
And that was really something that you hadn't seen happen to Xavier Simpson much during the year.
You know what? We were talking about that, me and the people that I watched the game with on Monday night. We were talking about before the game started, or maybe right after the game was getting going. I was like, I fully expect this is going to be one of those games, and Simpson is a pretty physical guy himself. He's short, but he's stocky, and he can body people up. But I was like, this is going to be the first point guard, I think, throughout the entire tournament that he's faced where the physical aspect of the game is going to be really tough for him.
Because
Brunson's just a big physical guy.
He moves so well laterally.
Yeah.
He moves so well with the guy off the ball. He moves so well to stay with guys with the ball.
Yeah.
He hadn't had that, I'm not going to run by you. I'm just going to back you in, and I'm going to turn around and shoot over you. He hadn't really played that a lot, so I don't really kill him for that. But that game just got out of control. If you go 2-14 in the first half from three, you're not going to win the game. That's where they were going to lose that game basically at half because they couldn't shoot. I don't know if the basketballs were bigger or the rims were smaller or whatever it is from the Big Ten tournament to the tournament. I don't know what the difference was.
So you know what it is.
Shot incredibly worse.
This has been talked about before. It's playing in those domes. It fucks the depth perception of shooters. Now, why was Nova able to knock down a record amount of threes in the semifinal against Kansas? I have no idea.
Yeah.
But we've heard this talked about before.
Well, how did Michigan hit that many threes against Texas A&M?
It wasn't in a dome.
Ah.
That game was at Staples Center. When you put these basketball courts in these big-ass domes, it moves the stands way back, and it does fuck the depth perception.
Yeah.
It must have helped Villanova.
It was incredible to watch them shoot 40-something% in the tournament, the Big Ten tournament, and then go out and shoot 33% or 30%.
Other than the Texas A&M game.
Other than the Texas A&M. Just terrible.
With regards to the things that annoyed me about this game, and you can't get super annoyed about anything because Nova was the better basketball team.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
Yeah.
I don't feel shitty
You don't
about
feel cheated or anything.
No. Did it hurt to see Michigan lose like that?
It didn't.
Yes.
Yes. And
it stung. And you know what I likened it to, Dave? Michigan State 09 against North Carolina. You were never going to beat them. They were a million times better than you were. And you could ask the question, did we even really deserve to be there in the first place?
It's funny. That's
very, very similar championship games.
That North Carolina team, it was even different from this Villanova team, I think, to a certain degree, too, because from what I recall of that entire tournament run, I don't really think UNC had hardly any close games at all through the entire run. They were just
Nova didn't win by any less than 12.
Yeah.
They won every game by 12 or more.
Every game.
Yep.
That's what I thought there was one game where it was, but okay. Well, then it was a good comparison.
Texas A&M was close for a minute.
Yeah,
for a little while.
Texas Tech. Yeah.
Or Texas Tech. That's what I meant.
Yeah, it was
regardless.
Late. It was closer late, and that's why I think you have to start fouling, and then the points kind of catch up to you at the end there. But.
Regardless, it's a great comparison. It is. It's very very
very very similar situations.
I was just I didn't feel like they did like I felt when they lost against Louisville. That was more of a heartbreak because the game was in their grasp. There was some bad calls in that game with like the Trey Burke
The
block.
foul was clean.
You know, the block was clean.
Or
and
the block, the foul.
Yeah,
Is there such thing as
he
a clean
got
foul?
a foul. He got a foul.
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
block.
and he blocked
the block
it.
was clean, so you felt like, well, that whole play changes the whole outcome of the game.
See, I feel I'm with you there. I feel the same way as when we were talking about the difference between Michigan State's loss this year and Michigan State when they lost to Middle Tennessee State in the first round, which is I was way more devastated by the Middle Tennessee State loss than I was this year. I mean, you look at the game that Michigan State played this year; they played like shit.
Yeah.
They played bad, and they didn't win, which they deserve not.
And
to
I
win.
also
By Middle Tennessee, they got snake bit
They
by
got
a good
snake-
mid-major.
Yeah, and it's not like Michigan State played poorly in that game. Middle Tennessee State played the game of their lives,
Yeah,
but it was amazing for them.
And it always hurts more when victory is in your grasp.
Yeah, it
and
does.
it
Of
gets
course it does. Yeah.
snatched away. In this game, with 10 minutes to go, there's no snatching. They're not coming back. They would have had to have a miracle comeback. It would have had to been like one of those things where it's, it would have been history if they came back and won that game. They would have had to hit like 7 threes in a row to get back in the game without them scoring a point, And so it's just like you just knew it was over. It was more of a disappointment in the fact that they didn't fight for that.
Expected them
entire
to
game.
fight, yeah.
I expected them to fight. I expected them to bring what I'd seen from them over the last 13 weeks as a whole, not as just earlier in the tournament where they were only scoring 60-something points. I expected them to shoot better.
All you have to do is look at two main things in this game to recognize why Michigan quit. Because they did quit a little bit.
In the last 5-6 minutes.
I would say even the last
it was
last
probably
half,
like 12 minutes.
last
At the
10,
12
12
minutes,
minutes.
yeah.
They had basically there's two basic things. First of all, actually there's three. Number one is that Villanova is so athletically gifted and so chock full of legitimately fantastic basketball players that Jay Wright just throws his fucking players on the court and they just play. Like, Villanova doesn't run a specific system. Yeah. They don't run a lot of sets. They freelance a lot of their offense.
Even Chenzo just chucking up a 30-footer contended and knocking it down.
I know.
There is nothing you can do about that, and you don't coach that either.
I'll let you guys comment on that, but that's just point number one. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just going to say, to your point about Villanova, I don't know if I look at what they have. I don't know if every single one of those guys is going to play in the NBA. And I don't know if I would consider every one of those guys like an elite offensive player. But what I will say, and I said this to people before the game started, I said the thing that is so frightening about Villanova after watching this tournament is that unlike a lot of teams, I mean, take Michigan for example. Their starting lineup was pretty darn good, but Xavier Simpson was sort of in the same mold as Tum Tum, nowhere near as bad, but is a liability offensively to a degree, right?
That brings
Villanova does not have any offensive liabilities in their entire starting five.
No.
They all can score the ball.
If this guy's not hot, this guy will beat you. If he's not hot, this guy will beat you.
That's why they're so hard to beat.
They brought the first guy off the bench, and they're showing bench points, right? Bench points.
Yeah.
And Villanova's got like 26 of the 28 bench points.
Wow.
I'm like, that doesn't fucking count. Fuck you and your bench points.
Well, when one guy off the bench scores 31 points.
One guy off the bench scores 30 points. They're going to kill you in bench points.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But your point about Xavier Simpson brings me to my next point of emphasis when it comes to why this game was so bad. Because Xavier Simpson, God bless him. I mean, he was awesome. But he does have a serious shortcoming, right? So when you look at this game, right, we're like, okay, Mo's got to go off. Mo's the best player on the floor for Michigan, so he's got to have himself a nice day, right? He starts the game. Looked real nice. Got that layup early for the answer bucket, right? Mo's playing great these first 8 minutes. But what does Villanova do? What does Jay Wright do? He adjusts superfluously. Yes, I just said superfluously. He just starts fronting Mo Wagner and getting Xavier Simpson room on the perimeter. Because Nova's going, you want to jack up a three with Xavier Simpson?
Go ahead.
You want to get a sure basket inside with Mo Wagner? I'm going to give you that shot until Xavier Simpson proves to me he can make it. And here's the thing about Xavier Simpson. He's pretty good at driving to the basket. Excellent defensive player. No question about that. He's very, very indecisive when it comes to shooting the basketball.
Like he looks to pass every time.
Every time. He's got the open look, and he can make that shot We've seen him make that shot.
Yeah. Not often.
But that's been the issue. That was the issue with Michigan all tournament. I felt like they were really indecisive with their open looks.
Yep.
They got to the final. They got to the final game, and for good reason. But that really reared its ugly head in this championship game.
Oh yeah. When you have a guy on the floor that if he can't get to the rack, he's basically useless on offense, and they know that. And they have a guy, you have a guy that's killing them. They're going to double team that guy, and they're going to leave that bad guy to shoot outside open. And that's all I did. Especially, it is incredible to me that they went this far with this team because this offense is predicated on 4 shooters and a stretch 5 or a stretch 4 center basically, and the point guard and the center are the 2 biggest pieces of the entire offense. The whole offense revolves around those 2 players. And your point guard can't shoot. The offense revolves around your point guard being able to shoot. That's what made Trey Burke so great.
It's like the Pistons playing with Ish Smith as a starter.
It gives you a point guard who can shoot in this offense gives you so many opportunities and makes you a very good team if you have the right shooters around him. Like if you would have if he could have shot better all season long. Let's say he was if he would even shoot the ball from 3 occasionally and could make them, they would have been a much better team. But he's just he's basically not available on the offensive end.
For the most part, he can drive it.
But
when they take that drive away, he's got no other option.
I wouldn't be shocked in the least bit if he was coming off the bench next year.
We'll touch on that in just a second. I wanted to bring up my third point of emphasis in this game, which was what caused Michigan's incredible frustration. Because you could tell they were frustrated. Mo swinging his arm around, getting that offensive foul.
Yep.
You could see the look on Charles Matthews' face.
Yep.
And there's 2 things that contributed to that, to the frustration. One is the officiating, which I thought was bad both ways in the first half.
Yeah.
And I even texted you guys, I feel like it got a little bit one-sided in the second half. And part of that is because, and this bothers me a lot, and I understand that it's gamesmanship, and Dan, stop crying, who gives a fuck?
Right.
But the acting job by Villanova in that game. I mean, there were a lot of calls that they just got.
Yeah, they just threw back their head and they
by
got a call.
flop. But there was a lot of flopping going on, and that's one part of the frustration for Michigan. But the other part was just the stifling defense that Villanova played.
Yeah.
So when you factor in what was my first point of emphasis? I don't remember. But the second point of emphasis was them fronting Mo. What was the first one? Just not making shots? I can't even remember. Go back and listen. And then the third one...
We've talked a lot since then.
...was their frustration. When you combine those 3 things all together against the best team in America, you're going to have a 20-point loss.
And I think a lot of that frustration also came with the lack of chemistry on the floor because they kept having to rotate guys in and out.
Foul trouble
because of some of these calls.
You got Duncan Robinson checking in, taking a chintzy foul... Yep. Right away, and then I swear to God, he got the second one before they even inbounded the basketball.
Yep. And then, new guys on the floor. It just changed that game. That game went, and then when you factor in if Michigan's not making their shots, there's a lot of running for Villanova. Then Villanova can get down the floor quick and pop.
And Michigan made the mistake of. Because normally I would be okay with Michigan running, but not against Villanova.
Yeah.
That's a team you want to slow the ball down against, and they were doing that really well in the first 8-10 minutes of the game.
But then when you started to have to switch out all these guys,
and you got
into foul trouble,
you got down by 8 points, you try to start running with them, and if you're not making your shots, Villanova's going to kick your ass.
Yep.
No question about it. So, and that's what I want people to understand. I'm not some bitter Michigan fan. There are some things about this game that annoyed me.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Villanova was just a far superior team.
Yep.
That's just the number one thing.
Yeah, you can have your own gripes with your team and also give props to the other team. It's a crazy concept.
But that brings me to expectations. Because here's the thing. Beeline's now been to 2 national championship games. So what are the expectations for him moving forward? Because
you got to win one.
You got to win one. And I think, and I've said this before, getting to a Final Four is a major feat for me in college basketball.
Yeah.
It's very different than any other sport, where you don't have to win a national championship to be super, super proud of your team. And when you're talking about needing to win 6 games in a single elimination tournament, Michigan won 5 of them.
Yeah. Well, I think you're at a point where you need to start expecting John Beilein to make a run at the Final Four every year. You've been to 2 championships. You need to start recruiting and getting some higher profile.
Well,
kids.
if you want to be the way that a lot of Michigan fans,
they got a nice class coming in next year.
They
I'll
do.
tell you that.
I think they have like a top 10 recruiting class.
And if you want to be the way that
it's definitely top 15. I know that.
And Dave, you can probably speak to this as well.
What's that?
If you want to be what a lot of Michigan fans are out there saying, and I'm not going to hate on you for it at this point, if you want to sit there and say that John Beilein somehow has surpassed Tom Izzo as the top basketball coach in this state, then what Geoff said is absolutely accurate. You have to expect Final Fours every single year.
Yep. If Michigan State expects Final Fours every single year, then Michigan at this point needs to expect Final Fours every single year. Not to mention, some of these kids are really good that are on the team now. Like, Jordan Poole is fucking silky. That kid can shoot. He can get to the rim. He's got moves.
The only issue I have with Jordan Poole
is going to be really good.
The only issue I have with Jordan Poole, and this could go away. I mean, I know he's a freshman. This could easily go away as he gains some more experience.
His cheesing?
I just
you don't like his cheesing.
I just think that he's a player. He doesn't freelance well. It's got to be a set play. It's got, you know what I mean? It's got to be.
I don't know. I don't necessarily think that. I think in maybe it was against Loyola. He hit a big shot late.
He was huge in that game.
You know what? He
got to the rim when he needed to on his own.
I'll defend him on that point too, in the fact that I don't think that he had a whole ton of opportunities to do that.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't really. I mean, you got.
I love his short shorts.
You got that's great.
Him and Livers.
Somebody had to pull up.
It's funny.
Somebody had to hang on to the DJ Wilson train, right?
The Fab Five brings out the long shorts, going all gangster with the shorts and
now
everything.
It's going backwards.
And now this Michigan team's bringing back the damn shorts.
Really trying to separate themselves.
I can dig it.
But what I was going to say though is that just to elaborate slightly, I don't think he had a lot of opportunities to be a freelancer, to really show the full range of his game, because it's just natural, unless you're somebody like a Miles Bridges as a freshman, like a Jaren Jackson as a freshman, a guy who is undoubtedly going to be a featured part of everything, right? You're not going to have a ton of opportunities to really show the full range of your game, because you got a Mo Wagner, you have a Abdur Rahman who's going to be taking a lot of shots and really leading an offense. You've got Duncan Robinson is a very good piece of the rotation who has a set role, right? So there's pieces that are already in place. It's tough for a freshman to really assert themselves unless they're in that super duper elite category.
Yeah.
And so I agree with Geoff. I think Jordan Poole's gonna be really good. I do. It's the one thing you said, which is that his game just has a really smooth, silky feel to it.
Well,
those guys usually translate.
I'm not trying to shit on Jordan Poole.
No, I know you're not. But
trying to play a little bit. But if you look at this Michigan team going forward,
I think he has more to show. I guess was my point.
I won't doubt that at all. But as I look at this Michigan team going forward, as far as expectations for next year, I firmly expect Michigan State to be the 2 best teams in the Big Ten next year.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's too much to ask.
Probably.
I think
when you look at
Ohio State lost a big piece. I think they're going to continue to be good.
Jordan Poole coming back, I think Isaiah Livers has got a huge amount of room for growth.
Yeah,
yes,
I agree.
Absolutely.
No question about it. You got 2 great recruits coming in next year.
You got 3 guys who are going to be real.
Three nice recruits coming in next year.
Pieces of the rotation right
away. You got a veteran point guard coming back.
We don't know what Charles Matthews is going to decide to do.
Or Mo.
And I was going to bring that up too. I'm going to lean towards Mo leaving, because you don't pass up the opportunity to make that cash.
Depending, though. I mean, it really depends where he grades out. Because I think it's one of those things where it's like, do you want to be DJ Wilson? Like, do you want to miss out on maybe another?
So Geoff thinks Mo's coming back.
Well, I think there's a possibility.
I think DJ's a good player. I think Mo has more to offer to a team.
Hell yeah, he does.
He has more to offer to a team.
What DJ Wilson went like 15 or something last year.
Yes,
he went in the middle of the first round.
But
right
he didn't
now,
play at all.
But and Mo's and he left as a junior. Mo's projected to leave as a junior and be a worse first round pick.
You know what? A lot of times,
that's all I'm trying to say.
It all depends on fit. It all depends on where you go.
That's all I'm trying to say is that Mo, unless the only thing that I think can hurt Mo is an injury. I think no matter where, maybe I think he can't get worse going into his senior year in draft stock. I don't think he could fall worse unless he gets hurt.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think the injury concern is a big reason. Not the only reason, but a big reason why Jaren Jackson decided 100% that he was going to go.
Yeah,
no, but
I think that's a big thing.
But wait a minute,
he's a lottery player.
But he really considered the thought of coming back, and I gotta think that part of the process of figuring out what was the right decision.
This is what I'm talking about, a fucking showdown.
Part of that part of the thought process that goes into it is if I come back and get hurt, I fuck myself. Right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the.
But I think there's another concern that you have for Mo Wagner too. There's a couple other ones. Not leaving this year. First of all, senior players going into the draft never get drafted high. Typically because that always means there's quote-unquote something wrong with you. If you had to play 4 years of college basketball...
Well, no.
But the other thing...
No. You're right in that there's a mystique about senior players. There's something wrong with you, right? But I think if you're looking at a guy like Mo, who came from Germany, needed to develop, didn't play much as a freshman, showed out on a very large stage his junior year, but then decides to come back and then has a very strong senior year. I don't think any coach is going to go, well, there's got to be something wrong with him. I think people know who Mo is and what Mo did.
I think it'd be very similar to Denzel Valentine.
I was going to say,
yes, exactly.
Who are the last few big name senior players? Denzel.
That's a
you
good
got
one.
a guy like Tyler Hansbrough.
And you know what?
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it till just now, that I just said it. But those two players actually had very similar trajectories throughout their career.
Yeah.
Denzel didn't play much as a freshman. Started to come into his own a little bit as a sophomore. Really became a big piece along with Travis Trice as a junior, and then his senior year he was an absolute superstar, as a senior leader.
And then still got drafted.
He got drafted 14th.
Yeah, in the middle of the draft because he showed out his senior year, and people knew that he was a good player. But everybody knows Mo is not going to be a superstar at the pro level. Everybody knew Denzel Valentine was not going to be a star at the pro level.
Right.
Be good players, good pieces, probably come off the bench, maybe be a starter eventually. On a decent team, but I think it's worth the risk, and I also think it's worth weighing if you're Mo. Not saying he is coming back. I'm not. Go get your money if you want to go get your money. I don't care either way. I would obviously love to have the guy back and watch him again for another year, but I do think there are some pros to coming back as opposed to like Jackson, who I think there really are no pros coming back. You're gonna be a top 5 pick. You might get hurt. If you got hurt, you can see what happened. Miles Bridges, right? He probably slid down a few spots since last year. I think that kind of
and part of that though is that this draft is a little bit deeper, kind of his position too than it was last year. So that's another part.
All right, expectations for Michigan next year. Like I said, top 2 in the Big Ten.
Yep.
Are we all in agreement there? They should be.
Wow. Yes, they should be. I mean,
Wagner
coming back would change a lot.
If Mo comes back, they're probably the favorite.
They should win the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no doubt they're the favorite if Wagner comes back. That's not even a question.
Well, there we go. 1 or 2. Get back there. Get back there, boys.
I can tell you right now, Michigan State will be in a rough spot if Nick Ward actually stays in the draft, but I really don't think he's going to, because I think what he's going to hear when he starts talking to people is you still play like a kid. You still get angry too often. You don't have an outside a 16, 17-foot jumper, which you got to have.
You need to mature as a player.
Exactly. And I think that's what he's going to hear from everybody. He's going to hear you're either going to get drafted at the very end of the second or not at all, and there's no reason to leave if that's the case. So.
All right, we got to take a break. We didn't. Isn't this what we said before we started the show? We're going to end up spending 45 minutes on fucking Michigan.
Even though we didn't plan to.
We did not plan to do it that way.
We actually talked on purpose about not doing it that way, but we did it anyway.
Free ball and show. We got more coming up. Conor McGregor lost his mind. We got to give Geoff some shit about reality television. And that's about it. We'll find something during the break, I'm sure, to add to this show list. David Faze, Geoff Mel, myself, Dan Griffin, sportsradiodetroit.com. Don't go away.
Hey, this is Brittany Wagner with Last Chance U, and you're listening to Out of Bounds Detroit Sports.
You sure you want to do this, man? You're drunk.
I'm drunk. You're drunk. Everybody's drunk.
Camped in the basement. Camped in a place where the station is safe. Dialed in, tuned up, ready. Dialed in, tuned up, ready. Yeah. Practiced and patient. Stamped with a seal, it's the real no replacement. Dialed in, tuned up, ready. Dialed in, tuned up, ready to go. Camped in the basement. Camped in a place where the station is safe.
Yeah, welcome back. Out of Bounds Detroit Sports. David Faze, Geoff Mel, myself, Dan Griffin, invading your ear hole, as always, on sportsradiodetroit.com, Apple Podcasts, or wherever the hell you listen to podcasts. And I'll remind you again, go to sportsradiodetroit.com as the Final Four in Detroit's top female personality bracket, our 5th annual Detroit's top female personality bracket should be getting underway either now when you're listening or shortly after. I didn't check with Roger on when the next round was starting before we started the show. Does that make me a bad pro?
No.
Because I don't know exactly when it starts. I know the voting for the Elite Eight ends this evening.
Can you be a bad pro, or does that just mean you're an amateur if you're a bad pro?
Yeah, you can definitely be a bad pro, Dave. You ever watch Brandon Inge play baseball?
That's harsh.
You ever watch Dwight Bikes on the floor for the Pistons? Yeah, that's how you can be a bad pro. You're either a bad pro or a good amateur. One or the other.
Oh man, it must be terrible to fucking just ride that line where you're like, I'm just not good enough to make the pros, but I'm like the best player in like the lower league.
Let's give Don Kelly a call. And see
it's just really weird. Like it would suck to be that.
It's like being a 4A baseball player.
Yeah, it just sucked to be that guy.
Is that what we are as a show? Are we just a 4A show?
Are we?
Well, that would fit our town.
Yeah.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. Tigers won tonight. A nice one. You were watching a fun video from Castellani before we started the show today.
It was. I mean, it's the start of a year-long process for him where he's going to be doing one every game.
I'm sure Chris knows this, but there are a lot of people that really don't like him.
Well, that's you're going to take the good with the bad with that stuff.
I mean, I think there are a lot of. I mean, we like him.
Yeah.
I think his videos are funny, and he knows his baseball. How can you get pissed off at a guy for posting videos when he knows his baseball? You can think he's a turd if you want, but I think he's funny.
Talking about getting erections over Shane Green's pitching. I mean, that's all of us.
And
he just represents all of us.
Always delivering a player of the game.
Yeah.
Always got a player of the game.
Well, and you know what? Actually, today was a little easier than some of the games are going to be this year, I'm sure, to do that. Some games are going to be a struggle for to pick a player of the game.
I don't think you were going to think of a game that high scoring and say there was only one home run hit in that game, and it was fucking Miko Goodrum.
Yeah. Who took over for Miguel, right? You think well, the big man's out of the ball game, so what are they going to do now?
After Miguel fell on his face.
Yeah, Miguel looked like he was doing a pratfall.
Rounding first base.
That was rough.
What else were we going to talk about? I don't remember. It's a free ball and show. I'm pulling my nuts. I'm going to pull my nuts out.
The Pistons were officially eliminated from the playoffs.
Oh, yes! That's what I was going to say. And who did they play to get eliminated from that playoff contention?
The 76ers?
Who was that game that they lost?
Yeah, the 76ers.
The process. The process. Everything that you wish you were as the Pistons. The process. The anti-Pistons. The process. What the fuck are you doing over there, Geoff?
I am researching.
Didn't even realize he didn't have his mic in front of him.
The Conor McGregor stuff.
He's definitely a bad pro.
I wanted to listen to this without it going into the mic.
It's going into the mic.
But so yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out why Conor McGregor went all ham.
We'll get to that in a minute.
I know. I just wanted to figure out why so I could tell you.
We're on the process right now.
Let's see the 76ers win something when it matters and not in the regular season.
Let's watch that. With the way Philadelphia's winning shit around here this year, I wouldn't be surprised.
That's true.
I knew this debate was coming, and I'm so excited for it again.
Let's watch that happen first before we get all on board the process.
What do you need to see the Sixers do before you recognize that the process works?
Win a fucking playoff series first.
Okay, that's fair. Win a playoff series, I can live with that.
I don't give a shit about the regular season. Yeah, you got to get in. I get that, and that's important. Yeah. That's an important part of it. But you got to win a series.
And
win
also,
a series.
There's nothing that's really changed about the process.
No.
Since your last argument.
No, there's nothing that's changed about the process, but Dave and I are on very different wavelengths on what Blake Griffin, the combination of Blake Griffin and Reggie Jackson does for this team.
But nothing
But
nothing has changed.
Dave thinks it can win them a championship, and I think it gets them a 7 seed at best.
Wow. I literally never said that. But that's cool.
I don't think it's changed in any way, shape, or form since you guys have last had this.
He just doesn't want to hear it again.
Hear what?
Jeff just doesn't want to hear the...
Because you're not going to... Neither of you are going to make a point that's any different from the last time you had this argument.
That's accurate.
There is one thing...
I'm not going to learn anything new. I'm just going to waste fucking 10 minutes of my life listening to it.
There is one thing that was not pointed out about...
I'm going to waste breath.
There is one thing that was not pointed out about the process that lets me know that even the NBA recognizes that this thing is real. Why do you think Sam Hinkie's been blackballed from the NBA? Like, what do you think the reason for that is?
Because he was tanking his team on purpose?
Yes.
And outwardly to the fans and to everybody?
Wrong! The reason Sam Hinkie was blackballed from the NBA is because the NBA recognizes that this is actually an effective way to build a winning team. And if Sam Hinkie is able to do this without the NBA stepping in, now you have a problem on your hands as the NBA, because now a third of your teams or half of your teams have the possibility of starting to do this.
Yes.
And there's no way in hell the NBA is ever going to stand for that.
That's so impractical, though.
It can't work that way.
It can't, because only one team's going to get the first overall pick.
It's like the idea...
No, but you have a large amount of teams trying to get that.
Yeah, but the thing is
pick.
they can't, right? So, like, I can try to lose and you can try to lose, but one of us is going to win.
You're going to compete, but that's the problem. Now you're competing to lose, and that's what the NBA doesn't want.
But the thing is, the reason that it worked so well prior is because no one else was doing it, right?
Sam Hinkie set the precedent.
That's why it works, because you can tank while everyone else is trying to keep their head above water, and they're going to beat you night in and night out because they're trying to keep their head above water. They're not trying to necessarily tank like he is over the course of a few seasons, and you're going to continually get the number one pick or in the top 5 picks. The thing is, if everybody starts doing that, you're going to have different outcomes every year because everyone's trying to be bad, so you're not going to be able to get that top 5 pick every year because there are going to be other teams that are really bad. They're going to get top 5
No,
picks.
even doing it the way that the Sixers did. They didn't get the first pick every year, but what they did was they got the first round pick either 2 or 3 out of 5 years. If you get the first, I'm sorry, did I say first round pick? I meant first overall pick. If you get that pick, say 3 out of 5 years, and all the other years you're getting 2, 3, maybe 4. For 5 years, you are guaranteeing yourself. If you have any semblance of competent management, you are guaranteeing yourself 2 franchise players. Guaranteed. There's no way you're not getting that. The cornerstone of winning an NBA championship. So how in the hell can this not work?
I don't think it can work if you have multiple teams, especially more than 5 teams, trying it at once. That's why I think it doesn't work that way.
Then why did Mark Cuban come out this year and say to us, which by the way is a mistake that Sam Hinkie never actually made?
Oh, say you're going to
coming out publicly and saying it's in our best interest to lose. You have Mark Cuban, an NBA champion, saying
my point is, but if it's like the American dream idea, right? Not everybody can be millionaires. Somebody has to dig the ditch, right? Not everyone can be millionaires.
Yeah, but in real life, you don't work your way to the bottom in order to become a billionaire like you do in the NBA.
No, but what I'm trying to tell you is that if everybody is trying to be the millionaire, not everyone is going to be the millionaire, and you need to have...
Isn't everyone trying to be the millionaire? Aren't we all doing that anyway?
Yes, but you can't have it, right? So, like, if a bunch of teams are trying to lose, they're not all going to be able to be the number one pick.
But as people, we still try to become that millionaire. So when 5 or 6 NBA teams are doing that same thing,
but the point is,
how is it any different?
You necessarily can't. It's almost like the same way it is now. You have 5 or 6 really bad teams year in and year out. And not every one of them is going to get to the top and get the number one pick 2 or 3 or 4 years in a row.
I think Sam Hinkie found a loophole.
I don't think it worked. He did.
Because he was first.
He was the first one. He did in a climate where it was open for that. Oh, there's nobody doing this right now? This idea will work like a charm. But now that everyone's trying to do it, it's not going to work.
Let me ask you this. Why can't you compete to lose just like you compete to win? What stops an organization from doing that? If they're bad enough, if they're smart enough to recognize they're not going anywhere.
They lose a lot.
Unlike your Detroit Pistons.
They lose a lot of money if they do that.
But do they? But this may just be me thinking in my own little goofy fan mind that we have all gone over how weird it is.
It's like you tank for 6 years to hopefully have 6 years that bring you back even.
I would in 99 years out of 98, I would rather have my GM, my coach.
10 out of 9, but that's cool too.
Whatever, 11 out of 10. I would
9 out of 8.
I would much rather have my GM, my coach, my team president, whoever the hell is buying the groceries, come to me and tell me, you know what? It's going to be real bad for a few years.
Yeah, much like your Detroit Tigers.
But there's a process here, and this is what's going to help us win. Rather than doing what Stan Van Gundy is doing, completely handicapping himself financially with the cap, to go out and get a 30-year-old Blake Griffin that is, I don't know, Dave thinks he's a top 25 player in the league. I'll agree with that. That's fine.
He's absolutely a top 25 player in the league.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. A top tier-ish player in the league, certainly not an MVP caliber player.
No, he's not like the top 7 guys.
You go out and you get that guy who hasn't been able to stay healthy for a full season since he was 8 years old. And combine that with a point guard who's just, that's the thing, they're just nice players. Reggie and Blake are nice players. Nice players, decent players, good players don't get you anywhere, especially when you have to get rid of an entire draft, essentially, because the NBA is only 2 rounds. You get rid of your first-round pick, you're done for that year.
Yeah, for the most part. I think they already traded their second-round pick.
No, they didn't.
They didn't?
No.
They still have it.
They traded their second-round pick in 2019. I think that
yeah, they traded a second-round
pick. They have a
20.
Yeah,
even if they still had it, who cares?
Next year.
Doesn't matter.
I mean,
they do still have it.
You can find a Draymond out there. You hope Mo falls, right?
You can find people. Well, for God's sakes, the Pistons have a guy that had a guy they took in the second round who's turning into a pretty decent NBA player that they got rid of because I guess Stan was sick of waiting. But
Spencer
Dinwiddie. He was picked like 39.
There's another move for you. That's fun.
And they moved him for a winger who
you didn't even need to tank with the Pistons.
I'm going to ask you again though.
They could have been a very good team if they just had chosen the right players when they picked over the last 5 years.
Sure.
Honestly, I don't even think it's funny. People are looking at this year because Donovan Mitchell has come in and been what he is and has been very good. I don't think this year's draft selection was even anywhere near the most egregious of the selections.
No, I'm just saying in general. In general, you can take a player that was picked after the Pistons picked, plug them into that hole, and you would have a much better team.
Well, and here's what doesn't make sense to me, and the one that I'm going to go back to, and it's going to sound counterintuitive because of the arguments I've made for the guy they took, or not.
Henry Ellenson?
No.
He doesn't even play.
The Stanley Johnson draft, where they didn't draft Devin Booker.
Yeah.
And the reason why it doesn't make any sense is because what has Stan Van Gundy's offenses always been predicated on through his career as an NBA coach? It's been shooting. It was shooting before the three-point shooting thing became even the huge craze that it is now. He's always been a guy that's predicated his offense around shooters and
a dominant big man.
And a dominant big man, right? So the fact that he did not take the guy who would have been, without any question, regardless of any other defense he might have had, he might have taken a little time defensively, blah, blah, blah. But the guy can shoot the lights out. Why you don't take that guy, I don't understand. And I didn't. And this the funny thing is I didn't even hate the pick at the time because I thought Stanley would become more than he is, and I thought Stanley could develop as a shooter. He was never going to be an elite 3-point guy. That's because that's just not his game. But I thought he could develop a little bit, and just the offensive game just hasn't progressed. So that pick for me is the one that makes the least sense.
I'll ask you guys.
And I don't think Ellenson was a bad pick because it was at 18. That almost every analyst that you can think of had him projected closer to like 11 or 12 at worst.
Yeah, but he doesn't play at all.
Well, I know, and that's
all,
and that's
not even off the bench.
He's been playing a little bit the last couple games.
So I'll ask you guys again, and I'll probably ask you guys again after this. We'll revisit this again in a few weeks. Pistons or process? What do you like more?
Oh man,
come on! This is such a no-brainer.
I mean, you can't say Pistons or process now. I mean, you mean in general? Like, if I had a blank slate team and I could do whatever I want with it, I would go with the process over trading for a top 25 guy. But it's not that I don't necessarily think that the Blake trade isn't going to kill you long term, I don't think.
I'm just going to sigh.
Like, I feel like they would have been better off not trading for Blake, keeping Tobias and Avery Bradley, and having a first-round pick over either one of those two choices.
Well, but then the problem goes back to
can you draft with one of those fucking picks?
And you're going to be in that middle ground of the first round.
I would love to be in like at 8 or 9.
That's
or 10.
the thing.
Oh, they're not going to be that high.
No,
they're going to that pick is going to be at best very back of the lottery, very back of the lottery with where the Pistons record is right now. That's where the Clippers are going to. They're going to like 13 maybe. That's where it's going to wind up.
Yeah, even there, I would roll the dice on anybody there over making that trade.
Probably getting Miles Bridges.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I would too.
There's a lot of talent coming out this year. I think it's a deep draft.
The 1 year
I will tell you this.
Your first round pick.
I will tell you this, and that's the only part. And we talked about this when it went down. That's the only part of the Blake trade that I didn't like. I had no issue giving up Avery and Tobias, and obviously Boban is Boban, and it's all
Dave.
cute.
It's not about.
I have no issue.
It's not about who they gave up, and it's not even about the first round pick. It's about Blake's fucking nonsensical contract. That's the top of the line matter with this trade.
Yeah, it's like you're just hamstrung.
That is the number one thing. If Blake was on a 1 year or 2 year deal, I would have had no issue with this trade. I mean, I would have because I would still be pissed that you gave up the first round pick, but I wouldn't be sitting here going, "Wow, we've already been looking at the better part of a decade since this team was any good." How much better are the Pistons today than they were in 2009?
A lot better.
Yeah, I think they're a lot better.
How much better? You say a lot better, I say marginally better, because they're still not consistently making the playoffs.
Dude, you don't win anything in the NBA without a fucking point guard. You cannot win in the NBA without a point guard.
Okay, so
and they had no point guard for 40 games.
Then explain to me
the biggest problem is the depth that he did not build at the point guard position. I like Ish. Ish can't be a starter. I've had this conversation a million times.
Jameer Nelson is not going to be a backup for him.
You needed to have a plan.
They're really bad at point
guard. You needed to have a plan in place that if you lost your starter in Reggie, you could at least get by. You're not going to replace Reggie necessarily,
especially because.
But you got to be able to be competent.
He gets hurt a lot. You knew that going into the year.
This was a weird injury, but it's still an injury.
Let's say Dave's right, and a point guard's the only thing that matters in the NBA.
It's not the only thing, but it's a huge thing. How many? Look at every great team.
Why haven't you been able to find a point guard in over a decade? Then
Reggie is your point guard.
Yes,
he's a good point guard.
No, I agree that on Dave's point that Reggie changes this entire team. He changes it. He changes the entire team. He makes them a better team.
Yeah.
He makes them a team that you haven't seen for fucking 10 weeks.
Great. What does he change it to? What does he make this team?
Probably middle of the playoffs.
Make you a 6 seed?
Maybe a 4.
No, 4 or 5.
4 or 5. Well, full season, healthy. Everybody plays.
To be honest with you,
in a normal year,
I can't even say 4 or 5 because I thought 4 or 5 back before they got Blake when they had a healthy lineup. I think this team can be really good when that group is together, healthy, and that is the X factor. That's the big X factor.
I think we finally figured. You know what? I think this discussion was good because I think we finally figured out where Dave and I truly differ on where the Pistons are.
Well,
I think we finally figured. Hold on. I think we finally figured it out. We have very different observations of how Reggie Jackson's value equates to how good this team
Dave thinks Reggie. Dave, I think you undervalue Reggie Jackson, and I think Dave values Reggie Jackson right around where he should be valued.
Well, okay, that depends. Because Dave and I may think that the Pistons are going to finish in a similar spot, say it's a 4 or 5 seed. But my thing is, what does that mean in the long run?
But
you're a 4 or 5 seed, and you're going to get bounced in the first or second round every year. How much better does Reggie really make you?
And I'll say this: it doesn't mean that you can't be better going forward. You can't get better going forward, even with Blake and even with Andre.
Let me go there.
If you can draft, and Reggie's contract is going to be up if you can find yourself.
Well, you got to keep a first round pick before you can draft anything.
Yes, but this year not. Obviously, you have fucking 4 or 5, 6 more years of fucking Blake and fucking Andre. All right,
and
4 or 5 more.
And
years.
at the end of that, we can finally start over and build this team again.
You can draft while they're on the team. It's not like you're going to stop drafting. You get 1 year where you're not going to draft. Beyond that, you're still going to have those guys for 4 years beyond next year.
Let me give you this.
Where you can draft.
Back in 2015, 2016, right, which was Reggie's best year as a Piston, his first full year as a Pistons point guard. If you take that team who everybody, including those of us in this room, thought, okay, finally this team has a direction. They're an up-and-coming team. They still have some pieces they need to add, obviously, because they were lacking in depth and all that stuff. But that team gave Cleveland all they could handle. I know it was a 4-game sweep. I understand that. But those were close, really good basketball games in the first round, right? And we thought, okay, finally we're going to see what's going on. You take that team and you look at what they've built, the roster they've built now. You put Reggie. You have a way better Andre Drummond. Now you have Blake Griffin. You have Reggie Bullock, who's coming into his own, a guy who can really shoot. You have an up-and-coming guy in Luke Kennard, who is a shooter. You have the pieces that fit way better with what Stan Van Gundy's offenses have always been. You're going to tell me that team wouldn't have, even with that Cleveland team, wouldn't have won a few games in that series? 100%. And I think they are better than those two. The Cleveland team then and the Cleveland team now are totally different teams. That was like a team of destiny. I think the Pistons, honest to God, with a full lineup that with Reggie, Blake, and Andre healthy, I think the Pistons could give Cleveland or any other top-tier Eastern Conference team a total run for their money in any series in the playoffs this year. 100% believe that.
That's deep.
Well, yeah.
But nobody's beaten. They're not going to beat Houston or Golden State.
I think you lose in 5 games against any decent team in the East.
I mean, without Kyrie, you could make a
You could definitely beat Boston.
I don't know if you could beat Boston. You could beat them in 2 games.
But you have no Kyrie or Gordon Hayward. You can beat Boston.
Next year, they're going to be fucked. They're going to be though. Gordon Hayward comes back with a healthy Kyrie, not on a bum knee.
Well, LeBron's going to leave, so it's fine.
And LeBron's going to go to the West.
The way
it's all going to even back out.
The way I look at it, and the whole thing is, that's all well and good. Everything that you just said would be excellent for 1 year. But you still have a team that isn't good enough to win a championship and doesn't have a direction to get there.
You know,
and that's my biggest thing.
You know what the biggest problem with the Pistons financially is right now, because I know that's a big part of what you're talking about. It is. I understand how much money Andre and Blake are making. I get that, but those 2 contracts are not the issue for me. Any good team is going to have at least 1 or 2 pretty damn big contracts, right? Because you got to pay your big time stars. The biggest problem that I have with what Stan has done so far, outside of the drafting, and that's the conversation we've had a million times, is some of the bench pieces that he has added that just really don't fit, and he's paid them to be big pieces.
Yeah, like John Lure.
You gave Langston Galloway $7 million a year, and he's not even in your fucking rotation, even though you're out of the playoffs, right? And I've said this before, as you just stated, Geoff.
What the fuck is going on?
I don't feel like I've played enough drops
tonight. John Lure contract is terrible, and I'll tell you another reason why it's terrible. Because this team could really use Anthony Tolliver in the rotation. He's been great, and you probably can't keep him now because he's been just good enough this year where he's going to get definitely more than the veteran minimum and probably somewhere closer to above the mid-level exception. And you can't pay him because you have John Lure at $10 million a year. Those are the ones that are really fucking you big time.
You know what else?
Just put it all together. It's all junk.
I'm going to get really reverse racism on here. I hate all the white guys on this team. I hate all of them. Every single white guy.
Except for Blake, because he's only half.
Do you hate Kennard?
Yes, I hate him.
I don't love him, but I don't know that I hate him.
He'll never be really good. He'll never be really good.
You don't think he could be J.J. Redick?
No, I don't think he'll be that good.
You don't think he'll be that good?
No.
Oh, come on. He's already a slightly better defender than J.J. Redick.
Yeah, but he's not as good a shooter.
He's actually a better shooter overall. It's hard to adjust the NBA game.
In 1 year, he's better than J.J. Redick.
Get out of here. He's always been a better shooter than J.J. He's been a better shooter always. Even at Duke, he was a better shooter.
Dave's got a thing for the Pistons. What is your thing with the...
I don't have a thing with the Pistons. I'm defending one guy right now.
I just pray. Stop drafting white guys. God's sakes. How many white guys hit where you luck out?
That aren't foreign.
Yes, not even.
They have to be Dirk.
There's only one. Dirk. There's only one.
And Mo.
All right, in all fairness, though, hasn't he only drafted... Well, I guess Allenson, too. Yeah, he drafted 2.
You drafted a lot of white guys.
Yes.
White guys can't ball.
Yes, no. You're not even playing the lottery.
We know that. I don't want to be like Rush Limbaugh in Notre Dame getting the black athlete.
Yeah. Stupid. I mean, everybody... I hope everyone knows.
Say what?
knows I'm joking, but I'm not joking. There's a little bit of both in there.
I'll just go pick up.
Why is it bad to be a good athlete?
Just go pick up Kawhi Leonard and you'll be fine.
Yeah, that'd be pretty easy.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Send them Blake and Andre for Kawhi.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
Settle down.
You'd probably have to send them like Reggie and Stanley in a first round pick for Kawhi.
We're never gonna get this question answered until the Sixers win a championship.
No, until next year. Next year, well, we'll see what the Sixers do this year, and then next year will be the year that we know if this team is going to work at all. Or if this thing is going to fucking explode.
Well, you know, it's funny. You might not even know what the Sixers are really in a playoff series this year, all kidding aside, because your fucking rookie point guard who can't shoot busted your center's face.
Here's what I well, that's true. He'll be all right. Embiid will be back. But here's what I'll say. And this is irrefutable. The Sixers have done more in 5 years than the Pistons have done in 12. No question about it.
Yeah.
This Sixers team this year, without winning a playoff series, with just what they've done right here this year, is better than any Pistons team over the last 10 years.
I agree.
No question about it.
I agree.
Yeah, the promise is much better. That's absolutely correct.
This Sixers team is better than any Pistons team since 2008.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that the Pistons in 2015 had the exact same amount of wins that the Sixers have right now. Maybe a 1 or 2 off. So that's what I'm saying. I think the playoffs is the one way you can make that determining factor. The playoffs is the big ticket.
It won't.
Regular season does not matter. Just get yourself in and play the series. That's it.
And they've got 2 players that are better than anything the Pistons have had over the past 10 years.
Well, Embiid's really, really good.
And Ben Simmons is a fucking monster.
He's a monster. For sure.
They got a lot of guards that can't shoot, which is weird.
I saw a really good
Ben Simmons is also a 6'10" point guard.
I saw really good.
Okay, so then he's a power forward that can't shoot. Either way, he can't shoot the ball. It doesn't matter.
He can pass the shit out of it.
I saw a really good LeVar Ball meme the other day. It was like LeVar Ball like crying when he's like, when Lonzo isn't going to win Rookie of the Year, make the playoffs, and LaMelo probably isn't going to, or LaAngelo probably isn't going to get drafted. It was just a crying LeVar Ball face. It was so great.
Did you see what our boy said?
What?
See what the worm said?
No.
Dennis Rodman?
About the balls?
Yeah, who's I always get him confused. Which brother's is eligible this year?
LaAngelo.
LaMelo and LaAngelo, I always mix them up.
LaMelo is the youngest one. Yes.
Okay.
I'm going
to try to remember that, but I don't care.
As Kenan Thompson's version of LeVar Ball would say, the 4th child is ridiculousness. Yeah. It's so good. Anyway.
Basically, Dennis Rodman came out and said that LaAngelo Ball's garbage, and he won't have an NBA career.
He sucks.
He does suck. He goes out and scores 72 against some Albanian high school team.
Lonzo obviously has deficiencies. He's not a great shooter.
I'm good to go now. I'm good to go, man.
There's certain things he obviously needs to improve.
But he's an NBA player.
But yeah, Lonzo's an NBA player. He's a decent NBA player. That's the only ball kid that's going to be in the NBA and actually make a career for himself. The only one, for sure. Yep. The other ones are
not a lot of talk coming out of there, though. You know?
Out of where?
From LeVar?
From LeVar. It's been quiet.
Of course.
Thank God.
He knows how shitty his kid is.
Thank God.
All your kids are shitty basketball players.
Send your kid to Lithuania because he stole shit in China.
He talked a lot. He talked a lot, and then it got down to brass tacks, and all the things he said and predicted were wrong. And so now he's really not out there talking all that much. And
what are you talking about?
We know that he's not that big of a baller. So
what are you talking about?
Can't be pushing big baller brand. We're not that big of a baller.
I bet his penis is really small too.
Might be.
He's for at least for a black guy. So he's probably twice the size of any of us.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, I said it. Black guys have big dicks.
Yes, and white guys suck at basketball.
Wow,
they made a whole movie about it.
What a terrible stereotype.
They made a whole movie about it.
What, he got game?
No, white man can't jump.
They can't jump. Oh, for fuck's sake!
Yeah, they also have an event for how black people can run. It's called Every Olympics Ever.
Yes. Now let's get to the craziest white guy on earth.
Oh, the guy with the smallest dick.
Yeah.
Well, you know that all the Irish have very small penises, don't you?
Do they?
Yes, I can speak to that. Why the fuck is Conor McGregor throwing fucking chairs at a bus?
I found out why. So, Khabib Nurmagomedov. By the way, Nurmagomedov. He's a monster. He's a beast. He loves to talk shit, but he's Russian, so you don't hear a lot of it. So, Conor McGregor is friends with a man named Artem Lobov.
Okay.
Right?
A Russian?
A Russian. And he got into a confrontation with Khabib on Tuesday before they were supposed to fight on Saturday coming up in UFC 223. So they see each other in a hotel and they start arguing. They're cursing at each other in Russian. Khabib puts his left hand on Lobov's head. Kind of like
pushes him back.
Yeah, kind of like all right, guy.
Like a little kid trying to swing into an adult.
It was on film, but it's they're yelling at each other in Russian, so you can't understand what they're saying. But of course, Conor, his boy, getting disrespected by Khabib like that wasn't happy about it. And what happened is Tony Ferguson and Nurmagomedov were supposed to fight, and they pulled out because Tony Ferguson got injured. And of course, Conor had to, make a joke, say something, talk some shit. He said, "These fools pull out more times than I do with my dick." That's what he tweeted.
Well, every time he pumps, he pulls out.
About Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson. So that all went down. So, of course, Conor shows up to media day today. And he's with his buddy. And they decided to go down to the bus where all the fighters are getting loaded on. And talk some shit.
I'm gonna fucking throw a chair through your fucking balls.
Talk some shit to Khabib, and then Khabib decides he's gonna talk some shit, and Conor McGregor goes the fuck off and starts throwing shit like crazy. There's like a guardrail at a bus, hits a dude in the face with something.
Conor.
Hey, open the fucking door. Hey, you fucking. Oh shit. Let's get into it. You alright, Mike?
Mike, you okay?
Get unreal, man. No, we gotta get a medic. Get a medic.
These people trying to stop him.
What the fuck is wrong with him? He's got a fucking trash. That's why. Oh yeah, fucking dude, we're gonna fucking kill this guy. Come to the bank.
He busted the windshield on the fucking bus. Or the back window.
Is it Conor? Is it just what we know about Conor? Is it all for show?
Is it all for show? I don't know. As somebody came out, Kobe Covington said they put a warrant out. Police were looking for Conor.
Oh, whatever.
And
that's bullshit.
And Kobe Covington came out and said, if that fugitive, notorious MMA is still out on the lam when wheels touch down in JFK, I'll bring that coked up leprechaun myself. A lot of people think he was on drugs. But this dude went fucking crazy.
The police were looking for Conor. What's he gonna do? Pay a fine?
I think he's in jail right now.
Oh, get out of here. Yeah. Why? Because he busted the windshield of a bus?
Up and
Can't he just pay for the damages? What's the problem?
A couple fights were.
He incited a riot? Is that the problem?
Yeah, a couple fights got canceled because of this, because his boy was supposed to fight. Another fight got canceled because I think someone was involved.
Yeah, one of the guys here on this bus that was supposed to be in the fight got hurt from this. Yeah. The glass breaking or something.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, one guy got busted up.
Fake! Get the fuck out of here.
I told somebody at work that, I go, this is getting more WWE by the second. And then, of course...
Conor will... So when he retires from MMA, will absolutely be a professional wrestler.
Fake, but why the hell would Dana White cancel a fight?
And Dana White...
He ain't going to give up money.
Because of what Jeff just said.
Well, Dana White has basically said, said it without words, like he ain't coming back to the UFC.
Conor?
Yeah, because of this incident. He said it's like the worst day for the UFC ever.
You know why that's bullshit?
Let me find it.
What does Conor bring to the UFC?
Money.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Dollars.
Yep.
He's coming back to the UFC.
I know.
Mark my words. What is this, episode 207? 206, one of those?
He literally said like 2 days ago, definitively, oh yeah, Conor will be fighting again at the UFC this year.
Oh yeah, but the thing is, when you go out and, you haul out and you fucking, of course, and Khabib's now talking shit.
But wait a minute, hold on. Let me ask you this question. Why is Dana White being such a bitch about this? Have you look back 30 years, 40 years in the world of boxing, right? Because MMA, is it not the new boxing in America?
Somewhat.
Yeah.
It's not. It hasn't quite gotten to the precipice that boxing did.
But it's growing, and I think it might pass it eventually.
Boxing was the most popular sport in America for a very long time.
Well, this is I think the more popular of the two now.
Oh, for sure. No doubt about that.
Only because there are not as many really elite boxers anymore. That's the biggest problem with boxing.
But that wasn't my point.
No, I understand.
My point was, go back 40 years ago when boxing was the most popular sport in America. And look at some of the shit that went down outside the ring with guys like Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. Like, this shit happened all that. Now, were guys throwing chairs at buses? No, but we're also in 2018. This is what it is. All this is going to do is draw more viewers. That's all this is going to do.
I think there's also something to not only. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like staged or anything like that. I don't think it's to that level, like WWE type, where they know kind of this is all going to happen. I think it could be also this. I think Conor hasn't been in the spotlight in a minute, and I think Conor going after.
He just fought Floyd in September. Or May. Was it May? It was May.
It was almost a year ago.
Almost a year ago, yeah.
And it was not in the UFC.
That year flew by like a motherfucker.
Yeah, and it was not in the UFC. It was a boxing match.
Right. He made a shit ton of money off it.
Conor McGregor is a fucking fighter. He's not a boxer. And that's what people want to see. They want to see Conor McGregor. Well, guess what? Conor McGregor is due for another fucking fight. Not only that, today, what did they do? They took his belt away. It's all culminates in one day.
He didn't defend it. Yeah, he hasn't fought to defend it.
Yeah, the point is that I think Conor's a little.
I think Dana's being a little bit of a bitch.
I think Conor just trying.
Dana's always been kind of a bitch.
Conor's trying.
I don't like Dana White.
Well, fucking this weekend you got an amazing fight with fucking Khabib and Max Holloway.
Except now you don't.
No, Khabib's still fighting.
Oh, okay.
They're fighting on Saturday. That's the fucking title card fight. Or the head fight.
I don't know.
Top fight.
I don't know if this is just me needing to side with my countrymen.
Yeah.
But did Conor act like a jackass? Yeah, but I think it's all for the better. Here's the thing. I think Conor knew what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, could you buy that for just a second? That this was in some way planned to a degree.
He wants to fight Khabib. That's what it is.
Knows what he's doing.
That might be.
Conor's not a stupid guy.
Conor's a pretty calculated person.
Like, I understand. I have Irish blood pumping through these veins. I know what it means to get pissed and lose your cool for a minute. But this is like
the third video down. A fucking Khabib slapping Arnold.
The difference between you and Conor is I don't think probably any of us in this room are strong enough to pick up a fucking railing and throw it at a bus. No. I mean, that takes some strength right there.
I'd like to get there.
That's pretty badass.
I'd like to get there at some point.
If you can get there, you've made it.
Yeah, that's it. That's all it takes. That is the line.
I don't even know. He might be like...
How strong are you?
I'm throwing a railing
at a bus, man. That's how strong I am.
Yeah, he's like...
I think
he's shorter than me, and he weighs less than me. But he picked that thing up and just fucking tossed it.
Well, it's because every all but about 20 pounds of his weight is fucking muscle.
Yeah.
I think it's all bullshit.
And that 20 pounds is
I think Conor's going to be back. I think it's going to be an incredibly high-grossing fight. And honestly, can I go conspiracy theory on this for just a second? I don't even know if I necessarily believe this or if I'm just a little too high.
You love conspiracy.
But
you do love.
I think Dana's in on this bitch.
I don't.
No, I don't. I don't think so either.
Right,
I think fucking Conor legitimately hates Khabib. And I think Khabib legitimately hates Conor. And I think after
Geoff would love the WWE.
And after he smacked him around, he's like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you." And then he went and tried to throw a fucking rail through the bus window.
I mean, as you do.
As you do.
You think
a little WWE-ish.
But let's.
Do I think they legitimately hate each other?
Let's put this in context. You don't think Conor knew those cameras were rolling?
By the way,
when this was happening,
the phone cameras.
The phone cameras or any other cameras?
No other cameras but the phone cameras.
Conor is a very aware person. I wouldn't say that he was actively trying to play to a camera, but I would say that there's no way he doesn't know that people are filming.
He showed up to media day like 12 strong.
Yeah,
it was like the NWO rolling out there.
NWO.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like WWE?
By the way, what's
WCW?
What is better?
Oh, it was WCW.
What is better, throwing a railing at a bus, or the really played out moment of a WWE wrestler getting hit with the folding chair? I got to go with railing into a bus.
Yeah,
you know why?
I'm gonna go with
because
that too.
it's new and different.
Oh.
It's a different thing we haven't seen before.
I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was fun to see Conor.
That
go
you know.
crazy
You know. Do you want to know why? Well, not
I'll
the only
fucking
reason
kill
why,
you.
but one of the biggest.
He's out of the UFC. Get
one
the
of the
fuck out of
biggest
here.
reasons why I don't like wrestling, because the shit is so played out.
Well,
Look at
here's
that.
the thing.
Play Dana White going off on Conor McGregor.
played
See
out.
what he says.
Of what?
Play
Play
it.
what?
The top
I
video,
just
full.
can't. I just can't stand how
It's 7 minutes long.
how relatively
Whoa.
predictable WWE events are. It's the same shit
But
all the time.
it was different. You know when I loved wrestling? And the wrestling people are going to appreciate this. I loved the Attitude Era.
well, and
You know what the Attitude Era is?
yeah, well, that's
The Attitude Era was Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock
Yep.
and Chris Jericho.
Degeneration
Look,
X.
DX, the Dudley
I've
Boys, the
never-
Hardy Boys. That was my shit.
I've never been a wrestling fan.
I loved it
I will
then.
say straight out, but I could at least appreciate that time period.
Yeah, the road dog, the badass by gun.
I could get behind why people would enjoy that.
You know what
I
made the-
get that.
You know what made the? I can't
But
believe.
the-
I can't believe we're
the
breaking
cur-
down wrestling.
The current
the
state
first time.
of wrestling.
No, because it's changed.
It's just not
I love
good.
how we're
I
talking
just
about
don't
it,
think
but
it's
none of
good.
us watch it.
No,
I know.
We have no idea what we're talking about.
But I used to.
I'm not trying to
I
say.
used to as
I'm
well.
not trying to talk specifics. I'm just saying. I think
Religiously.
the product now is it's just overplayed garbage, but it suits.
It's recycled.
It suits the
No.
new age garbage fan. I'm sorry.
No.
It's just
What
terrible.
makes it different is that the WWE has actually gone back in time, right? So the thing that made the Attitude Era so good, Stone Cold and The Rock and those guys, was that the characters were nuanced. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin was my favorite wrestler, but he.
I can't wait to hear the nuanced Stone Cold Steve Austin.
But wait a
argument.
minute. But the thing that made him different was that he was a hero that was also an anti-hero. Like he was the good guy that had really piss poor qualities, right? He ran out into the ring drinking beer and
Kicking Vince McMahon in the nuts.
giving stunners to the owner of the company. And that's what made the Attitude Era different. They had heroes that were also anti-heroes.
Yeah.
Now it's all back to 1980s John Cena. He's the all-American guy, and like that shit. Fuck that shit. I want to root for the bad guy. I want to make me root for the bad guy,
Plus,
and that's the difference between wrestling now and then.
Plus, I think a lot of the guys carried over for a very long time, like the Undertaker and stuff. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I loved the Undertaker. I think like Kane was one of my favorite wrestlers. But then like. Fucking Undertaker was like wrestling last year. It's like this man's fucking 55 years
He's older than that.
old.
You know who's
it's like,
awesome?
what the fuck is he still doing out there?
You know who was an awesome current wrestler? Who? Let me rephrase. A guy who was in the current time period of wrestling, but had to. It was actually a forced retirement because of health, and now apparently he's coming back. It's Daniel Bryan.
Who?
Daniel Bryan.
Oh, he got himself hurt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I
that
remember.
guy.
Yeah.
Because you know why? Because that guy. I want to drink a beer with that guy. That guy's like a real dude. That's what I love. I love that shit.
We just spent more time.
I love that shit.
We just spent more
You
time.
know who else I want to have a beer with? Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Of course you
For
do.
sure.
Of
For
course
sure.
you do. I just want to point something out. We just spent more time discussing wrestling than I think we have the Red Wings all year long.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, is that really a huge surprise? Really, though? I mean, I don't think so.
You did want to touch on before we end the show. I don't know if you want to touch on the Cougar sighting in Northville, Geoff, but also the fact that an NHL era has ended with the Sedin twins retiring.
What a crazy career story that is.
No, I'm just wondering, are they the type of twins that have sex with each other?
No.
because they do
share women.
Everything else together.
Wow.
They play juniors together. They get drafted together. They play their entire NHL careers together, and then they retire together. Aren't they just adorable?
Yep.
Fuck the Sedin twins.
They'll probably move in together.
Wow, that was angry.
In retirement, they'll probably move in together. Have their own bedroom.
They're gonna have a sitcom.
As I was telling you off mic, I saw something today. I believe it was only one of them, and I honestly do not remember which one it is. But one of them was being interviewed about. Well, they were both being interviewed about the retirement, but one of them was being asked about his plans, moving forward, and something came up about how they're gonna. One of them is currently going to get into marathon running. Post retirement, going like, well, that let's go from one extreme to another. I guess let's just keep up the whole stamina thing. Hey, I'm gonna retire from hockey because I want to get out of professional sports and move on with the rest of my life. But you know what? I'm just gonna run a lot.
Hey, stay in shape and compete.
Jesus, what is this? Some Swedish rock?
No, this is a song called "Twins" by LOL.
Is it K-pop?
Also, it is K-pop. It's totally K-pop.
Another thing that we talked about.
K-pop.
Another thing. I can't. Another thing we talked about off mic was like that scenario with the Sedin twins will never happen again.
No, you don't often find
drafted back to back.
Play the whole career together.
Play your whole career together on the same team, on one team. You don't get. Yeah. It's not like you move to the same team together or anything. You stay with one team for your entire career.
Can you imagine all the chicks they've spit roasted throughout their career?
Oh man!
I mean, that's got to be. You don't often find a couple of Swedish twins, NHL hockey players on the same team. I'm sure spit roasting a Korean broad.
I'm sure they're
in the middle of a massage parlor.
I'm sure they're both married now, but. But when they first came into the league,
it's so delightful.
No. But when they first came into the league, I guarantee you they were not married. So there was a lot of parties there,
spit roasting,
a lot of fun times,
a lot of spit roasting.
Yep.
You're never going to hear that word 5 times on the same episode ever again on this show. So enjoy that.
Yep.
Do you think do you think there was ever a scenario where like a woman was like wanting to sleep with both twins, but one of the twins just kept going out of the room, coming back in, and telling her that he was the other one?
But wait a minute. Again, we talked about the red velvet cake last week about how that's a lady thing.
Yeah.
Are twins a dude thing?
I think so.
Like, are women interested in banging? Like, if Channing Tatum had a twin, would there be would women be dying to get spit roasted
my theory is
by both Channing
only
Tatum?
If the twin was also famous.
But if they both look like Channing Tatum,
I think it's a dude thing.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But we can take another poll for the ladies.
Here's the thing.
There's obviously outliers, but I think in general it's a dude thing.
Here's the thing. Channing Tatum is famous, handsome, and he's also a dancer, right? Those are all 3 things that women enjoy. However, you said, because I made the comment that the only way that a broad would really enjoy Channing Tatum's twin is if he was famous. And you said, but he still looks like Channing Tatum. I'm like, okay, yeah, but what if he works at Subway? Like,
what if he can't dance?
What if he works at Subway?
It's a deal breaker if he can't dance.
If he looks like Channing Tatum, but he works at Subway and he lives in a trailer park, they don't fucking care.
All right, let me ask. Let's take a Twitter poll. Yes or no for the ladies? Would you bang a Channing Tatum lookalike if he worked at Subway?
Oh God.
I mean, no.
Message us on Facebook or tweet us at sports. Wow.
Chances are
at OB_sports.
Chances are it's going to be at least 50-50. At worst.
Those are all things.
I guarantee you it's 90-10.
God, that was so funny.
There's going to be like those weird broads that don't think Channing Tatum's attractive. I'm a straight man and I would fuck Channing Tatum.
I've never laughed so hard at anything Dave's ever said before. Those are all things women enjoy. It was so fucking funny.
That is so going to be a drop.
Like my woman consensual. Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, those two things played back to back will
I will
work
tell
out
you
well.
what, this is one thing that's fun about our show. Sometimes if you just stick around till the end, it's all worth it. So if you're here, thank you so much. And go to sportsradiodetroit.com and vote for your favorite ladies. And don't stop listening to our show, even though this one was... I don't know if this one was good or bad. I'll find out when I listen later.
I think it was all right.
Can never make the judgment call right
We're going to exit with some K-pop.
That's so weird.
Please go to sportsradiodetroit.com. Check out all the other fantastic content. You got the Fanarchy. You got the Road Show. You got the Mitten Sports.
And 300 other shows.
Lions. Tigers SRD with C. Breezy and Roger. And I'll tell you what, if you're a baseball nerd, and I'm not saying this like it's derogatory, nothing wrong with being a baseball nerd, you will absolutely love Tigers SRD, so go check that out.
They do an awesome job.
They do a fantastic job. Chris Brown and Roger Castillo. And did I leave anything out?
No.
I got everything?
I don't think so.
All right, awesome. I'm glad I asked you guys.
We have a lot to offer.
You've been listening to Out of Bounds Detroit Sports. David Faze, Geoff Mell, myself, Dan Griffin on sportsradiodetroit.com. And we should be back to our regularly scheduled programming next week, Monday, Thursday. But until then, we are out of here.
只有满户外。